your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Maitreya, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and I'm excited for the conversation I'm getting ready to have with Sabina Qureshi. How are you doing, Sabina?
I'm doing good. How are you, Bill?
I'm good. Yeah, we were chatting a little bit before coming on, and I maybe you're a little like nervous, like, oh, why does he want me on my podcast? Because you've seen some of my other episodes, but I hope I cleared it up when we were talking. I'm a guy that I'm into I'm a student for life, and I believe that keeping an open mind and learning on the journey that I've been on in not just like my recovery, but my time on this earth and in the military, that there's a lot of things that I know nothing about. The more I learn, the less I know, I find out,
Well, that's what the wise people say, actually. Exactly that. And you're the most wide-ranging host I've ever talked to. I mean that literally. I'm very impressed, because it just shows that you can talk to anybody, like anybody, everybody. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I've had people, others like, well, like stick to a format or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. The format is me talking to people, learning about them, and and hopefully if people enjoy the conversation and they learn something too. That's pretty much about it. But usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick little background. So do you remember when you were little, Sabina, what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Well, I remember being kind of freaked out at the thought I was going to have to be a grown-up one day. I think when I was about to start grade 1, I would have been 6 years old. I remember thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to know how to drive a car and have an apartment, and have a bank account, but I don't know how to do those things. I'm not going to be able to do it. I was like really freaked out about that. But that's not really a career choice. That was just me like looking ahead and thinking, oh no, being a grown up, right? Help.
That still scares me quite a bit as well, being a grown up. So I understand. And then what was it like along that journey of that fear of being a grown up? Because it's funny. I just had a conversation on an interview I did previously about like how imagination and creativity seems to be like being stolen from our children, like what we had growing up, because we have so many distractions now, so many things to look at, and then we get bored if we don't have that instant gratification or that fix, But
I think that's really true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think go ahead.
I was saying to him, like, I mean, Hollywood's like proof. It's like nothing new is being created. It's almost like a retread of so many other things that have already been done, because like people don't have like the capacity to get their brain like create, sitting in the boredom and using imagination and being creative. It seems to be definitely lacking. And so yeah, well, what were you going to say?
Well, I was agreeing with you, because I think it's absolutely true. A friend of mine was telling me the other day she had read something about how we have become, and especially I think if you're growing up right now, you get so habituated to the digital world or the digital like input, and like what we would think of now, we have a different word for it. Before it was just like life, but now we say, oh yeah, like non-digital life, like life that's like analog, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
breeze, uh the wind on your face, or the sound of like traffic, or things outside a digital reality, like all of those inputs. She'd been reading about this writer who said that those kinds of inputs connect you to the world. They make you feel connected,
Hmm.
whereas the digital stuff doesn't. It doesn't bring that same kind of connection, like through your senses, through your body. It's all very disembodied in a way. And what you just said about boredom and about not creating anything new, I think that's a really, really profound statement, because I think the real creativity arises out of emptiness, or like nothing. Like you have to be able to be willing to go there to where there's nothing, like what we could call boredom. You use the word boredom. I've also heard it said that boredom is when your mind is at rest, like your mind is resting. We might call that boredom, but actually it's probably very necessary. It's like part of mental health to be able to feel that. And I was in a coffee shop the other day. I was looking at, they had all these books on a bookshelf, like a take a book, bring a book. And I like kids books. I love looking at the illustrations. So I grabbed one. I was looking at it, and what struck me was all of the pictures. They looked they looked like they'd been made by an artist, but they looked like sort of like cartoon type faces. Like uh, they just seemed sort of so familiar, like something I've seen so many times. And I thought, I was disappointed, because I wanted to see something new, something
Hmm.
unique, which is what you look for in art, right? Or well, in anything creative. So yeah, I just want to say yes, totally. I think we don't make space for creativity, because that's what it needs. It needs space, and people don't have space. I mean, one reason is this economy that's pushing everybody to just run, run, run all the time. Working so hard, and like always being like connected to your device, having to respond to this, to that. Like there's no space. You're being squeezed all the time. And I think it's really, really unhealthy for us. And of
Yeah,
course,
I
for,
agree.
for most people, you can't get out of it. Like you still have to go earn your living. You have to manage things. And the system keeps pushing you into a smaller and smaller space. So I mean, I think it has to change. I think this is not sustainable, not in any way.
No, I agree. I hate having to participate sometimes in the game, but I enjoy doing this podcast. This is like therapeutic for me to, like I said, meet people, learn new things, have a conversation with someone I just met, but to get, to build this into something where you get the audience that you want. So you have all this great content, but if people aren't watching, sometimes, and I try not to focus on that as much, but unfortunately, like you said, to play the game, you have to you know, promote it. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time, go on the digital devices, to build up, and yeah. And I'm more of those, like, I was just talking to the person I had on before. He was a musician, and I talk about I've missed the old days of taking an album, sitting down, looking at the artwork on the album, reading the liner notes while I'm listening to from front to back, with the headphones on, and it's taking me on a journey. It's telling me a story. And today it's just like, it's about singles streaming online, what's the big hit, what's getting the most hits, and it's like, I got to play that game to get the viewers and stuff, and I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't know. I try and do what I can to keep positive, but I saw, too, that let's go back to kind of like, when did you kind of like, I guess, discover, your calling, or start having your like awakening and what we've been talking about?
Well, I went through a crisis when I was quite young, 22 years old. my boyfriend committed suicide, and that kind of pushed me into asking all these questions, which, many people ask those questions without having to go through a crisis. I think I just wasn't. I was somebody who was very obedient to what I thought were the expectations, and I just kept my head down and tried to do what I thought I was supposed to do. But I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on sort of inside of me or what I wanted or anything like that. I was just on a little treadmill, running. And so in a way, the crisis kind of saved me, because it like sprung me out of jail. Like suddenly I was out there thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? What just happened? What does that mean? Like, I don't understand. And that was the best place to be, was asking those questions and starting to try to find out, like, well, what is going on? Why am I here? What is all this about? How is it he could do that? Why did he do that? Like, all those questions. That was kind of the beginning of me saying, I need to figure stuff out. I need to figure out what I'm about. Why am I here? Why is everybody here? What are we all doing? And so I just started searching. I didn't know what to search for, because that's kind of what a search is. You don't really know. You're just looking. And you meet people and they say, oh, what about this or what about that? And then I think you just trust your instinct, your gut. Something says, turn left here, go right there, like, go with this thing, don't go with that thing. So it was that kind of process, and it ended up taking me to yoga, to meditation, to this information about the Masters of Wisdom and Maitreya, one of the Masters of Wisdom. And I can say that I did have one of those kind of aha moments, like feeling like, oh, now things are making sense. Okay, this I can go with. And that was when I heard Benjamin Creme give a lecture here in Edmonton back in 1984. Benjamin Creme passed away recently in 2016, but in 84 he was a fairly young man, and he gave this talk about the Masters of Wisdom, about Maitreya, about life on all the planets, about UFOs, about all these things and he tied it all together. The things that you would think are the most unlikely to go together. Like, I grew up in a home. One of my parents came out of a Christian tradition. The other came out of a Muslim tradition. Neither of them was religious in the normal sense. Like, nobody went to their temple, or we didn't do Sunday church or mosque or anything. But I knew about these different religions as a kid, and I'd never thought I had to figure it all out. I didn't think about it. But when I heard Benjamin Creme talking, he was sort of tying it all together and saying, all the religions in the world, all the traditions, whatever they are, they're all talking about the same thing in different ways, because they arose in different places at different times, through the history of human beings. So, of course, they would present the same thoughts or ideas in different ways, depending on who they were talking to. I liked that idea. I thought, yeah, that makes sense. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's like, we're all trying to figure these things out, and we come to them in different ways. And he was saying, people of every religion and people of no religion, like people who don't believe in anything, people who do believe in something, and whatever it is they believe in, it's all connected. I liked that feeling of inclusiveness. Like, it wasn't about, if you're on this side of the line, you're in, and if you're on that side, you're out. Like that, I've never liked that. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning for me of delving into these things, and I began to do meditation. I'd never been interested in meditation in my life. I never thought about those kinds of things. I thought that was for hippies, so so there I was doing all these things I never thought I would do. But that's what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, and like you said with the meditation, it's just like, that's still something that I struggle with myself, is that taking that time and pausing and slowing this hamster wheel in between my ears down, but it's everything else you were saying too. It's like, I'm in a 12-step recovery program. I've got 16 years sober, and I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy. I did that whole thing. I went into the military. I came after my last deployment and experiencing some things. When I began my sobriety journey, I got saved. I would consider myself like a non-denominational Christian. I guess spiritually, but there was still always these like questions and hangups that I had in my journey. And I find the more I get into the 12 steps and the higher power of my understanding makes it so much of an easier journey for me. And I kind of, it sounds similar to a little bit about what you were just talking about as well. You know, it's like, because within my recovery group, there's people of all kinds of different outside issue beliefs, you know, but we leave those outside issues out and we're all together in unity, helping each other stay sober or whatever, you know, we're trying to overcome, you know. And that's like, I guess that's me kind of like how I see your journey, what you were just talking about with your journey a little bit, you know.
Yeah, well, you know what you're saying about the power of the group. The meditation that I started doing, that I still do, is a group meditation. I have not been good at doing solo meditation, like what you just said about taking the time to sit down and quiet your mind. I'm not good at it. I confess. I know I probably should do it. It's advice. You know, that's kind of the advice, is you should do that every day. Everyone should do that for some period of time, even if it's just 5 minutes. But I confess that I don't actually get to it. It's like I'm always, oh no, I have to do this. I have to do, you know, like, and that's not a reason, but I'm just saying that's what I'm like. But the meditation, I do it, and I think partly the reason I can do it is because it's a group meditation. So it's like a fixed time where you meet with the other people. I mean, it's like a date. You've set a time, you're going to be there, so you're there, you show up, right? It's kind of like what you're saying about when you meet with your group. It's like you're going to show up because you said you would show up, and everyone else is going to be there. So you're
It's
going to be there.
accountability thing. I'm a person that needs accountability. Like I said, I that fear of still growing up and being an adult and doing adult stuff. I need somebody to hold me accountable to keep, you know. And if I'm supposed to be committed to be somewhere, that helps hold me accountable, you know.
Absolutely, I hear you. Yeah, well, so that's my explanation for the meditation. It's a group meditation. The minimum number of people is three. You can't do it with fewer than three. It's based on the science of triangles, which I do not know the details of that science. I just know it is a science, but it does kind of intuitively make sense, because when you have three, you have a group. I mean, two is not really a group. It's different. It's like a couple or a partnership, but three is already a group. So, you know, and also in physics, like three is a stable structure. Like you could build a table with three legs, but you couldn't build a table with two legs, right? So, so
But
that's it. Yeah.
it's funny too, because, you know, I mean, this is the problem with my brain getting sober, you know, which is not a problem, but it's always working. It's always like, and you just said, it has to be done with three or more, you know. And then I start thinking, okay, well, like I said, I'm, you know, raised Christian or believe in Christianity, and there's a scripture that says, where two or more are gathered, there I am. You know, that's how we connect with the Christ, you know. And
Yep, that's right.
and you know, you mentioning that just had me thinking about that. And also, like, even in AA, there's like a pyramid symbol, you know, that
That's right.
how it all works through the triangle or whatever. And then I guess I said pyramid too, because then I think about all the wisdom, the ageless wisdom that you talk about. So a lot of it seems to trace back to the Egyptians as well, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with that. But there's my mind all over the place thinking, and that's why I have these conversations.
But that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have a mind, because I mean, I think we're given minds so that they will do that, and we will use them, you know. I mean, I look around at the kind of technology we have these days, and I marvel at it. I think, how many people spent how many thousands and thousands of hours working on these different things, so that, you know, now I can press a switch and I have a light, or we can do this Zoom call. I mean, where did that all come from? If you think about it, really go all the way back to when people didn't have electricity, and they didn't know how to, you know, produce light other than with a flame. I mean, it's an incredible thing. Or our medical science. I mean, antibiotics, you know, there's so many things that we in a way take for granted, but they're really built on countless people's work over time. And it's that mind. It's our
Yeah.
incredible minds. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you too, speaking of the mind, because I was reading in your bio about, I mean, multilingual, many languages. I tried doing Spanish class. I did enough to pass the grade, but if you ask me anything in Spanish today, I probably, couldn't remember unless it's like a Taco Bell menu or something. But then also BSc, I think it said, in genetics.
That's right, Bachelor of Science. Yeah.
Yeah, Bachelor of Science. Okay, yeah, Bachelor of Science in genetics. Like that took a lot of time, right, to acquire. How has that, like, what kind of inspired you to go down that, work towards that degree originally?
Well, I wanted to be a singer and I love music and I always played instruments and I was in different kinds of groups, like a jazz group, classical groups, string quartets, youth orchestra, that type of thing. But the thing was that I wanted to do art, in fact. But I was, like I was saying earlier, I was the kind of kid, I just kept my head down. I didn't say what I wanted. And so I didn't even ask. I should have asked. I could have asked, but I didn't. I just assumed that the expectation from my family was you got to go to university. Now, I didn't really want to go to university. I'm not a book type, but in that sense, I mean, I love books, but not in a, like, I don't know how to put it, like structured classroom book way.
Yeah.
But I thought I have to go to university. But I wanted to go to art school, but I didn't say, hey, I'm going to go to art school. I just said, in my mind, I just was like, okay, I'm going to university, even though I don't actually really want to. But I went and I just picked some stuff and took it. And it was all really boring to me. But there was only one class that was interesting, and it was the genetics, like, science option. Like, I wasn't planning to go into science because nobody in my family was doing science, so I had no experience of it. But that was the only thing I thought was interesting because they were talking about DNA, and it was like, wow, I thought it was like science fiction. I mean, just remember, this is back in 79, like a long, long time ago, when genetics was just kind of starting. Like, they had figured out the code, but they hadn't got to what they're doing now. So I was fascinated, and that's why I chose it. More just out of boredom, really. So it wasn't like I wanted to do science. And by the time I'd finished my degree, I realized, well, no, I don't want to do this. I can't do this for a job.
Yeah.
So that was it. I did the degree and then I quit, and I went and did other things. So that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar. I was just talking with a new therapist through the VA this morning, and they happen to be a social worker. And it's like, I got my degree in social work, but it just wasn't, it wasn't my calling. I don't feel like, I did what I needed to do to get it, and it just, I have it. It's hanging on the wall over there, but it's not I don't feel like it's my calling. I'm more into like, well, I'm assuming once you explain more what it is, but what got you into the studying the Ageless Wisdom techniques, and what is that for the audience?
So the Ageless Wisdom is the name given to the teachings which underlie all the different religions and traditions in the world and through history. So basically, it's kind of like distilling it down to basic principles. So in a sense, it's not a religion. It's talking about very fundamental things. For example, the law of karma. Everything that you do sets in motion a cause which produces an effect, and you will experience that effect at some point. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in a later lifetime. So reincarnation is also one of the different teachings in the Ageless Wisdom. The idea that we don't just live one time, but many, many times, hundreds of thousands of times, over and over. And that is definitely part of some religions, for example, Buddhism, Hinduism, and it was part of the Christian teaching until I think it was now I just don't remember which century it was in. I remember it was the Emperor Justinian, one of the Roman emperors, who removed it. from the Christian, from the Bible. And what's been said is the reason he removed it is because he wanted to have more control over people. And if people knew that they were going to have many, many more lifetimes, then they wouldn't be afraid in the same way. Like you couldn't control people with fear,
Yeah.
because they'd be like, okay, fine, something might happen this time around that's not so great, but I know I have many more times. This isn't the only time, kind of thing. But if you think this is it, this is the only one, then in a way it's going to put a lot more pressure on you, and you could be manipulated more easily. So that's what has been said. That's what Benjamin Krim has said about this. That's why it was removed from the Christian teaching. But so those are two things: the reincarnation, the law of karma, and very fundamental teachings like harmlessness, that we should strive to be harmless, like to not cause harm in not just what we do, but what we think and what we say. And of course, it's extremely difficult because it requires a kind of attention that we don't usually have, on what maybe we can do it we can focus on what we're doing, but even then we don't really know. We may do things that cause harm in some way that we're not aware of, but I think the most difficult is the thinking, and speech probably as well. So those are some of the teachings of the Ageless Wisdom. Yeah.
Now, as you were talking, another reason why they took that out, it's easier to control people in fear, that have fear. I've been learning on my journey too that, like when I remain in like a faith state, it's like frequencies, it's like I seem to operate on a higher frequency. When I'm stuck in fear, I'm in a low frequency, and I'm very, like you said, very easily controlled. I mean, we just went through, the time period back in 2020 where there was a lot of fear and a lot of control being pushed on a lot of people. You either do this or you don't get to do this. And a lot of people, I guess, gave into the fear and complied. And I mean, even before that, things were kind of, the division, I know, and I'm in the United States here, the division has never been bigger than what it is today, I feel. And it was just that, like I said, the uncertainty and the fear that was, I mean, we're just in a very chaotic period, in our lifetime. And, I think you were going to touch on that, like what all this means on a different, like, I guess on on another level.
Well, yeah, because talking about chaos and division, the Ageless Wisdom says that that is our solar system, is making a giant, well, that's not just the Ageless Wisdom that says that. Any astronomer can tell you that, if people who study the heavens and the movements of the different planets and stars, that our solar system makes a giant circle through the heavens that takes 26,000 years. It's called the precession of the equinoxes, and what it actually means is that every 2,000 and some years we are in an energetic relationship or alignment with one constellation. So we go through the 12 different constellations. We're now entering, everyone's calling it the Age of Aquarius, because we are in an energetic alignment or relationship with the constellation of Aquarius. And there's certain energies that constellation emits, like our sun, gives off energy, light, heat, radiation. So all the stars do that, and each constellation produces certain types of energies that reach us. And so the energies of Pisces, the constellation that we were in a relationship with for the last 2,000 years, those energies stimulated us to develop our individuality, to become self-conscious, self-aware people, aware of ourselves as individuals, no longer just functioning sort of like herd mentality, like just doing what everybody else does automatically, instinctively. And so we now have developed our individuality to a really high degree. And this is a very positive thing. But now the next thing is the energies of Aquarius, which stimulate synthesis, the coming together of different parts or different elements to create something new. And this is reflected in what we're seeing around us, which is more and more people coming together to form groups, coalitions, networks of all types to activate and sort of bring about changes that they want to see in the world. So we're seeing a lot of synthesis, and that is going to be the keynote of the Age of Aquarius is working in groups for the good of the whole. So dedicating our individuality to that good, the larger good, like beyond just our individual self. And so the chaos is because these two types of energies are very different from each other. And the ways of thinking that are embodied by these energies are also very different. And so you have more or less people in sort of very broadly speaking, two groups, those who are moving in the direction of sort of this synthesis group work idea, and people who are still more focused on the individual, the idea of the, I think one way you could look at it would be in politics, for example, the idea of a leader who's going to save us.
Yeah.
That's a focus on an individual, kind of the cult of the personality, that type of thing. Whereas the idea of synthesis is that you look at a group working together to bring about change. And maybe we'll still have, I don't know how our political systems will evolve, if we're still going to have, what we call leaders, or if we'll move more towards a kind of coalition idea. I mean, it occurred to me recently, we had municipal elections here in Edmonton, and I went to hear the candidates from my ward, from my area speak. And I thought they all had really great things to say. But we have to choose one, right? And I was thinking that's kind of unfair. It would be much better if, well, okay, everyone votes, they choose one, but instead of only one person winning, why couldn't all the people who got votes be part of a coalition, and then they would each have a voice, that would have this percent kind of weight based on how many votes they got. Like that would
Yeah.
be, I think, much better, because you'd have many more ideas. They all had really good ideas. So are we going to lose the ideas of the people that don't like win? So yeah, I think it's a moment of great change, and it's not easy for anybody, this kind of moment. So I think it's easy to feel lost, or to feel a sense of desperation, like, wait a minute, like, what do I do? How do I figure this all out, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much, like I said, my mind's bouncing around like a ping pong ball again. But, I'm actually a Pisces. That's my, my sign,
Yeah.
born in March. And I look back at, I've always, I don't know, I've always kind of been, I guess, even though I served in the military where you have to follow orders, but I always have been the guy that questions well, why do we got to do that? Ever since I was a little kid, like, when you're asking your parents, why, I've always been somebody to kind of question things, and not just like do it because everybody else is doing something. I mean, like that example I gave earlier, when everybody was in the fear state, I was grateful that, I've got a couple of years of recovery under my belt. I was saying the serenity prayer constantly, like, okay, what do I have control over? What don't I have control over? And, how do I know, to what to put my energy towards and what not to put my energy towards. And, but
Well, I
then,
think that's
you
really
got people,
smart.
yeah, people calling me, conspiracy theorists and tinfoil hat and all the other stuff or whatever, just because I'm asking questions, instead of just like falling in line,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, because
going back.
that can make people uncomfortable. Someone who asks questions can make other people uncomfortable, because they may be thinking those things, but they don't want to stir that pot. It's more like, no, 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 I don't want to have to think about it. It's gonna make me ask questions, of myself too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I know, like one of the hardest struggles I had with, like working my sobriety and kind of like getting to that place of a higher power of my understanding was, like I said, I was raised in a certain environment. Everything's kind of like, you know, put it, every Sunday we'd show up, we'd all sit, stand, say the same things, recite together, and then I go and join the military. It's like sit, stand, say the same things. It's just like there was so much written, like the record was written in my brain, but thankfully there was still enough of me to, like, I guess, like you were saying, that whole, like, I guess the part of the brain that maybe got the most votes or whatever, trying to work with the other parts of the brain that are I don't know, what I was trying to say there.
I do, and I really think that that's like humanity's great gift is curiosity, the questioning, wanting to know. That is our amazing gift. That is what has led to all the breakthroughs, all the betterment of humanity. All comes from that, from questioning, from asking and saying, why? Why does it have to be like this? Why should it be like this? Why can't it be like this? Why are we doing this? So I think that's a huge power. That's a superpower, I
Yeah.
really think it is. Yeah.
And speaking of which, I'm going to steal one of the questions that was kind of in the notes that was given to me to prepare for this. But why should people believe you? Like, what's
Well, they shouldn't. No, the answer is they shouldn't. Don't believe anything just because, investigate for yourself, ask the questions. Don't believe things. I don't think belief is very, I don't know the right word for it. I think belief, it may be comforting in one way, like to just say, I believe this because someone else told me it's a good thing to believe. But I think if you're good, for each of us, if we're going to believe something, it should be because we actually think it's true, and why would I think it's true? I would think it's true if it resonates with me. If I do my own investigation and I check it out and I come to my own conclusion about it.
Yeah.
So, if I'm talking about something here today, or anybody is talking about something and you're hearing them, I think the thing to do is you listen to it, but you keep an open mind. You go, okay, well, that's interesting, but I'm going to check it out for myself. Like, I would never ever advise anybody to believe me just because they hear me say something. I mean, it has to be on the basis of your own inner perception, your own judgment, because we all have the gift of intelligence and of the ability to see things and make comparisons and come to our own conclusions, and we have to use that. That's, I mean, it's intelligence. That's what it is. We all have it. So I think that's the answer. It's no, don't just believe it because I mean, if it resonates, okay, then follow it up or check it out more or that type of thing. But yeah, I that's my answer.
Well, that's, I guess, the perfect segue too. As I was talking earlier, always kind of been like an X-Files fan, and Agent, my one of my spirit animals, I guess, Agent Mulder, would have on his the poster, on his wall, "I want to believe," and in the poster he had a picture of a UFO. And before we got started here, you sent me a couple pictures. I guess, is this a good time for me to
Sure.
put some of the pictures up so we could talk about this?
Absolutely.
Let me see. There we are. There's that one.
That's right.
Now, do you want to, like, give a background and explanation of what? Oops, sorry.
No worries.
It's my reminder to call my sponsor. But what you want to give an explanation about this, and then I don't know if I could put them. Can I put them both up at the same time? I guess I'll give it a try and see what happens.
Sure. Yeah.
No, it's just be one or the other. But
okay, sure. Well, so these photographs were taken, I believe, in the Netherlands, and when they were taken, the person who took them, I don't think they saw the UFO, but the explanation is that these are pictured in both of them. You see a UFO that is in the process of shifting its energy, and when I say shifting, I'm talking about the frequency of the vibration of the atoms. in this UFO from a frequency at which we can't see it to a frequency at which we can see it. So the explanation here is that we're aware of three stages or states of physical dense matter. We can perceive solid dense matter, liquid dense matter, and some gas we can perceive if it has a smell or well, they don't, gases don't have a color, but a smell, we can perceive it. Or it can have an effect on us, you know, on our mind, or on our body, you know, knock us out. But according to the Ageless Wisdom teaching, those three states are, in every case, for example, if you go from physical solid to physical liquid, what is the difference? It's the rate of vibration of the atoms. They're vibrating more quickly in liquid than they are in solid. And to go to gas, again, they vibrate more quickly in a gaseous state than in a liquid state. And you can see this and understand it if you look at water, for example. You boil water, by heating it up, you're increasing the speed at which the atoms, the molecules are moving. And at a certain point, they're going so fast, it turns into steam. So that's the gaseous state. And so the Ageless Wisdom teaches us that above the gaseous physical, there are four more states of physical matter that are called etheric matter by the Ageless Wisdom. And the four etheric levels of matter, each one is finer, or that is, the vibration is faster than at the lower level. So that as you go up through these levels, the rate of vibration is faster every time. And so these UFOs come from other planets where, now, according to the Ageless Wisdom teaching, there is life, intelligent life, human life on all the planets. However, the reason we don't see anybody when our probe goes to Mars, for example, is that they are living on the etheric plane. That is, their bodies are on the level of matter that we don't see, the etheric level, higher than gas, like vibrating at a faster speed than gas. And so all of their artifacts and their technology also are on that level, so we don't see them. Now, these spaceships, when they come here, and there are many of them here all the time, they come here to help us. Principally these days, what they're doing is they're cleaning up pollution that we have created primarily through our use of nuclear power. We cannot detect many of the levels of nuclear radiation that we emit and that are extremely noxious for us. So they are here to clean that up. And they're doing it as a form of service to help us. Normally, we don't see them because their UFOs are on that etheric level of matter, so we can't perceive them. Now, people who have etheric vision, and there are some people who do, they can see things that are on the etheric plane. However, in this case, what happened was the UFOs, they can also lower the rate of vibration of the atoms and molecules in their UFO, in the physical structure. They can lower the rate of vibration and bring it down to the dense physical level, which is slowing it down. And when they do that, then suddenly they appear. We see them, you know. And so the sudden appearance is simply that the rate of vibration has been lowered enough that they become visible on the dense physical plane. So what's interesting about these photos is that what you're seeing is a UFO that's in the moment of transition between not being visible because it's on the etheric plane and being visible because it's on the dense physical plane. So that's why you can see through part of it, and some other parts you don't see through. And that's true for the other one as well. So they're very unusual pictures for that reason.
Gotcha. Yeah. And it kind of going back to, like, you know, what I was talking about with frequencies, you know, when we're in that low frequency, I mean, obviously, you know, not just it's seen, but we're, you know, I guess since they're here, they're coming back to help and we can't see them. They're operating on that high love frequency.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, unless how do we, I mean, is that something that the Ageless Wisdom kind of, is that what we're trying to attain here as well, for us to be able to reach that frequency of love?
Well, that is exactly that's in the cards. It's a ways down the road, but we're heading in that direction because the Ageless Wisdom says that each of us is a soul in incarnation. That is, our essential being is a being of light. We are energy. We're a soul, which is actually it's fire. We're actually a being of fire, and this physical body that we see in front of us is the in a way the vessel or the vehicle that the soul has created so that it can function on the dense physical plane, because the soul isn't visible on the dense physical plane because it's not dense physical. It's a very, very high vibration
Mhm.
that is not dense physical. But what the earth is it's a kind of like a giant experiment to see what happens when you have beings of light, because every life form, whether it's an insect or an amoeba or a tree, all of them are coming from the same level, that is the soul, and they're manifesting a body, a physical body, so they can live on the physical plane on this earth. We're all doing that, and so the challenge for us is to connect with ourselves internally, to experience that inner connection, because when you do that, then you also feel connected to others and to all life, because at the level of the soul we're all connected. What Benjamin Krem has said is that every atom in the universe is connected to every other atom, that at the fundamental level there's this unity of all life. Now, we don't perceive it. We perceive separation. We see ourselves as being separate, but that's kind of the bridge that or the gap that we're working to overcome. And that's why we reach out to each other. That's why we want to be in touch with each other, and we want to
Mhm.
talk and have relationship, because we feel that underlying sense of unity. It's in us. It's part of who we are. And we need to make it manifest. We need to bring it about on the physical plane as well.
I'm going to bring things back to recovery as well, because I was just talking with a friend of mine the other day that recently relapsed, and I was asking them questions because it's like I want to know how to prevent that in my story. I don't want to have to, that the chances of coming back aren't always good. And
Yeah,
they said it was like loneliness, isolation is when
right.
they cut themselves off from the group, is when the chances of that occurring happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, going back to you mentioned earlier too the sorry you
No
mentioned
worries.
earlier too the Maitreya. Am I pronouncing
Mhm.
that correctly?
Yeah, Maitreya, that's right.
Yeah, Maitreya. What is you know f- for the audience, like explain what the Maitreya is and how does that being or person or whatever play a role in us getting to I guess with the Ageless Wisdom or whatever,
Well,
or Matt.
basically, yeah, Maitreya is a person like us. He's just farther along on this path of evolution that we're all on, lifetime after lifetime, because we keep growing, we keep learning, we keep understanding more every moment. I mean, that's just part of life. You can't stop that process. It's part of being alive. And if you think about it, we have these words like enlightenment, and they refer to understanding, gaining understanding, becoming more aware. And so in the Ageless Wisdom teaching, what we're told is that as you gain awareness, as you understand more, about yourself, about other people, about life, what is happening is literally at the level of the atoms in your body, they are changing into subatomic particles, light. So slowly over many, many lifetimes, our physical bodies are actually changing. I mean, we know that every 7 years, all the cells in our body are replaced, they're completely new. But at the atomic level, that's also happening by having our atoms change into light, into photons, into subatomic particles. So, lifetime after lifetime, this is taking place. And by the time you reach the end of this process, because it's a fairly long process, hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, but as you reach the end of it, you get to a point where all of your physical body is light. Once that happens, then you don't need to be born anymore as a person. Like, you don't need to have another lifetime as a normal person, because you've achieved mastery over yourself, over all the levels, all the planes of your existence. And so in the Ageless Wisdom teaching, we call the person who's reached that level a master of wisdom, or a lord of compassion. So they've gone through everything there is to experience on earth. They've surmounted all of it. They've overcome all of it. And they've reached this state where they don't need to be born anymore. And they also can do things that to us appear miraculous, like appear and disappear, things that we don't understand how to do them. So they seem like a miracle. But according to the Ageless Wisdom, they're just part of being able to function at that level. So you think about our technology, to someone from the Stone Age, that would appear like magic, right? But we understand how it works, so we know it's not magic. So it's kind of the same difference. So Maitreya is one of these masters of wisdom, and he's the leader of a group of masters of wisdom, of people who have decided to stick around, because once you reach that level, then you continue growing and evolving. It's not like you stop. There is no end to evolution. So you keep evolving. And when I say evolution, I mean the evolution of your consciousness, because it's through consciousness that all this happens, like the understanding and the growing. But you keep going after you reach that stage. And people have the choice at that point to stay here and help those of us who haven't reached that point yet, and not just us, but all the kingdoms on the planet, like animals, plants, mineral, all forms of life. Or you can go on to other solar systems, other places, to continue growing to higher and higher levels. I mean, it's an infinite process. And so the masters of wisdom that we refer to when we talk about the Ageless Wisdom are those who are here, that are helping us. And Maitreya is one of them. And he is said by the Ageless Wisdom to be the person that each religion predicts will return in a future time to help humanity, or to, and in quotes, save humanity. Now, Maitreya himself has communicated some messages through Benjamin Crumb, the teacher I was talking about earlier. And in those messages, he says that we have to do the work ourselves. That is, he's very clear about the fact that he's not here to just magically, make it all better. We have to take those steps. Nothing happens by itself. We have to use our will. We have to do the work. But he's here to help us and to help bring about this major change, which is really what we're seeing the beginning of right now. This time of chaos is the beginning of that change, of more and more people saying, wait a minute, we can't just keep destroying the planet. This is the only planet we have. There is no planet B, kind of thing. We have to make sure that we can live here, ongoingly. It's not working if we just make it unlivable, kind of thing. So he's here to help us bring this change about, and he says we're going to do it. He says he knows that we are going to make these changes, that he says within each of us sits a divine being whose plan it is that justice and truth should triumph. And justice, the idea of real justice, is really basic to his teaching, because what he says is that without real justice, you could not have peace. You can't have a lasting peace until you have real justice. And when he talks about justice, he's referring to the fact that millions of people still don't have enough to eat every day. That there are people all over the world who are struggling just to survive. And so he says sharing is the cornerstone. We have to make sharing the basis of everything we do. And he doesn't mean that I have to empty my bank account and share it with everybody, like on my block. What he's talking about is at the level of the countries of the world, that has to be how they relate to each other. They have to stop competing and fighting with each other and start sharing. He says the resources of the world belong equally to everybody. everyone has an equal claim to what is available on the earth. Nobody owns, like that. We have this idea about ownership of, you have this rich person who owns, I don't know, like 50% of the land in a country somewhere. And that's because of our structure, our economic structure that allows that to happen. But what he says is that actually everyone has an equal claim to what is here. And we need to change the structures that we live in to make that real. And then we won't have fighting. There'll be no need to fight,
Yeah, I mean that sounds amazing. It's just when I look at a lot of the chaotic things going on today, it seems a lot of it is related to the people in power that have plenty but they're addicted to more,
Exactly. Yeah,
and
that's right.
like how do we, get how do we make the change, I guess, to get to where, I mean, it's easier for a lot of us that have very little. Like I used to think when I was running and gunning in like the music scene or whatever around here, when I was like active in my addiction, because I wanted more too, and I used to think, well, if I get this and this will make me happy. And now with some time in sobriety, in my recovery journey, I was just out in LA, visiting some friends out there, and I drove through Beverly Hills, and I was just like, nothing, the energy or whatever, nothing there. It really impressed me. Like, this wasn't like, oh, someday I want, no, maybe the old me
Yeah.
was like, okay, but those look like very expensive, well-to-do prisons with their walls set up all around them and everything, just give me some land and walk around barefoot, and enjoy out in nature and have a nice warm bed to go back to. That's kind of where I'm at today. Would I like more money? Yeah, obviously, so I can afford to go do the things I want to do. But I just I don't. How do we get, I guess, like what I was asking too, how do we get there? Like, or has Maitreya been kind of like sharing and talking about how we as a society can get there, and how do we overcome the people that control everything? Because not only do they, I mean, they control the media. We're being force-fed propaganda on a constant basis. So we talked about the short attention spans, and a lot of the stuff that we're like scrolling past is stuff that they're manipulating to, how do we, I might be able to see it, but I feel like I'm one of the few, that can realize, that that's
Yeah.
what it is. How do we, get, I guess, what changes can we make in our lives, or what changes should we make?
Well, Maitreya says that we have to bring these changes about, and I think that one of the most powerful ways to do that is working with others, like in groups, and making our wishes known to those in power. We have to press or pressure those in power. I don't know if you've heard of Howard Zinn. He
Oh
was an
yeah.
American historian. Yeah. And his book about the 20th century is really interesting, because what he shows is that all the advances, like all the improvements in people's lives, happened because people pushed for it. It wasn't because the bosses or the politicians said, oh, hey, guess what? I think it'd be great if everybody had the weekend off. Or, I think it'd be great if instead of working 16-hour days, you could work 8-hour days. Or I think it'd be great if there was a minimum wage. No, that didn't come from the top. That came from the bottom.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
came from people. Yeah, that's right. And so that's the same. That's the formula. It's hard work. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes constant pressure. And sometimes it can take generations to bring things about. But that is the way that things change. That's actually where all what we think of as improvements to human life come from. So that's what we have to do. We have to get together with others and pressure, 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 and keep saying what we want, explaining it. And we have to become more and more. We have to become larger and larger groups. So, there were those No Kings demonstrations recently in the US. Like, that's an example of people who said, well, we don't want this, but they're not yet saying what they do want. So that's the next step, is you have to figure it out. Well, what do you want? And then we have to go out there and say, this is what we want. And we want it to be like this, we want it to be like that. And it'll probably come about basically, starting at the grassroots level, like the local level, in your community, in your city, in your town. And then it spreads from there. It goes up, so it comes from the bottom and it goes up. But that's how changes come about. They always have. It's just that we've been, you talked about the media and brainwashing. Basically, it's very convenient for the powers that be to convince us that we're helpless, because then we won't do anything, and then they can just continue doing whatever it is they want to do. So of course they're going to feed us that idea that we have no power, they have all the power. Just turn on your TV or your Netflix or whatever. Just chill out, relax. Don't worry. It's all fine.
Yeah.
That's a way of getting everybody to just say, oh, okay, fine. I give up. I won't try to change anything. So no, we have to fight. We have to fight back. That's what'll bring it about.
Yeah, bread and circuses keep us distracted, and then the things like I mean the either the like the social issues, the race, sex, gender, all the things that that they want to push to keep us divided and fighting amongst each other, which are
That's
like,
right.
it's like a lot of times it seems like it's like the low hanging fruit just to keep us distracted. And yeah, like I mean, I've been down many rabbit holes like Operation MK Ultra and all that type of stuff, that I try and have these conversations with some people and they look at me like I got, 3 heads or whatever. But I'm just trying to think of ways that, like you said, how can we all come together, find that common ground, let's ignore these things. We can address these things later, but the main thing we need to, and I feel like, I mean, there is like, there's in some of the movements, they call it Great Awakening happening.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there is a lot more people that, before would block me and not want to hear what I had to say, are now like saying some of the things I said, 5 years ago or whatever. But hey, I'm glad they're saying it now.
That's right. Well, and when you look at the people that are going out and trying to prevent ICE agents from like grabbing people in a parking lot of Home Depot or, whatever they're doing, I mean, those are people working together to try to change what's happening on the ground. They see something they feel is wrong and they're trying to do something about it. They're trying to protect someone who they think is vulnerable. So it's I think it's a question of looking around you and just saying, okay, what do I think needs to change here where I am, and then of course using technology you can connect with people much further afield, at a distance. But the other thing is that something like I use this as an example, but something like transmission meditation is also a tool for helping this kind of change, because for one thing, it energizes the people who do it and gives them strength. So anything that you do that gives you strength and makes you experience your fundamental connectedness and your sense of purpose, and your sense of vision, that's important. That's very important. And those things need to be prioritized to the degree you can, within the, structure of your life, to whatever degree you can. That's very important. And then communicating is essential, because it's through talking with each other that we share our ideas, share our vision, find out what we have in common, and that opens up avenues for working together and coming up with ideas, projects. What are we going to do? So I think sharing, like the idea of sharing the world's resources, begins for many of us at the level of sharing our ideas, sharing our vision. That's a powerful thing to do.
And that's hence, what we're doing right now, with this conversation on the podcast. Like we started talking like, well, gee, why am I on here? because of
Right.
the other episodes or the other interviews and guests I had. But these are the conversations I love. And if you, I, somehow I always kind of like test the waters with no matter what the person's coming to promote their latest album or whatever, we end up somehow getting to some inner core issue to talk about that I find out that we have in common and we get into a conversation about, which a lot of maybe fans wouldn't even have known about that person. And that's why I love doing that. It's kind of, well, I wanted to ask you too about like achieving or striving towards self-realization. Like for the audience, like explain what that means.
Well, my understanding of it is that self-realization is a state that people reach. I haven't reached it, but I've read about it, where you experience that you are everything. Uh, I don't really know more about it than that. I mean, it's in books. There are books about that. People who've experienced what they call self-realization, they describe it. So I think it's interesting to read that kind of thing if you're curious. One of the people who's described it quite well, I think, is Paramahansa Yogananda. He wrote a book called Autobiography of a Yogi. And he started the Self-Realization Fellowship. That is, I think their headquarters are on the West Coast, San Francisco, maybe. So, in that book, Autobiography of a Yogi, he talks about his experiences. But like for me, I guess I'm not really aiming for self-realization. Like I understand at some point it'll happen because it's part of the path for everybody. We're all on
Yeah.
that path. I'm just mainly I'm focused on how can I use the time and the energy I have now to the best of my abilities. Like I feel as though I've been given a certain amount of time. I have certain resources. How can I use them to to bring about the things I want to bring about? Like I had this dream 3 nights in a row when I was in my 20s when I first heard this information. In the dream, it was like I was probably 24 or something, but in the dream, it was the end of my life. It was after I'd passed away, and I was in front of a kind of little panel of like 5 or 6 people who were kind of like advisors or counselors. And in the dream, the dream just opens with me standing there in front of this panel. They're sitting at a table, and I'm facing them. And then they asked me. They said, "Well, so what did you do with the time you had?" And then I opened my mouth to start answering, and that's the end of the dream. So I had that same dream 3 nights in a row. Uh, so what I took away from it at that age of 24 was, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to aim for. I'm going to aim for when I reach that moment that I'm going to open my mouth and say, I'm satisfied with what I did, Like I
Yeah.
had that many years and I did these things and I'm satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. And that's um, like you were saying, I mean, we're not at self-realization yet, but if we believe in that cycle of reincarnation, we get it's like I guess for the video game people out there, we haven't reached our final boss stage yet. We're
That's right.
we're kind of working to level up to get there, and that's pretty much it has me thinking too, like how you were describing Maitreya, talking about the Maitreya, um, and how the Ageless Wisdom is kind of based on all the religions. I guess would Christ have been considered like a Maitreya for his time, or
Oh,
a
absolutely.
master of
Yeah.
wisdom?
I mean, yeah. So Jesus Christ, the person we know as Jesus Christ, is one of the masters of wisdom. He works very closely with Maitreya. They work together all the time. And according to the Ageless Wisdom, Maitreya, in fact, overshadowed Jesus during certain parts of his life. And overshadowing is, I guess the best way to explain it would be it's similar to what we know as channeling, but the difference is when when a person is overshadowed by another person, It's the person with the greater expansion of consciousness overshadows the person that has a lesser expansion of consciousness. And what happens is that the vehicle or the channel, if you want to call them that, the difference is they're fully conscious while it's happening. They know exactly what's happening. They've given their agreement or their consent. So one of the most important things in the teaching of the Ageless Wisdom is free will, and to never infringe or go against the free will of anybody. So the
Mm-hmm.
masters will never ever go against anyone's free will. So when Maitreya overshadowed Jesus in Nazareth and in Jerusalem and the different places where he was in Palestine, it was with the consent. Jesus gave him consent, and he was aware of it. Maitreya was his sort of teacher. He was a disciple of Maitreya, and so he performed the miracles that we know about from the New Testament. That was Maitreya acting through Jesus, because Maitreya, being a master of wisdom, free from the pull of physical matter, could do those things. Jesus in that lifetime was what's called a fourth degree initiate. So there are 5 great expansions of consciousness that we go through on this path, and they're called initiations in the Ageless Wisdom. And so when you go through the 5th initiation, then you're a master of wisdom. You're completely light. Your body is all light. When you're a 4th degree initiate, as Jesus was, your body is 3/4 or 75% light. So they have a very close relationship. They work together all the time. And according to the Ageless Wisdom, Jesus is, well, according to Benjamin Creme, he is now living in Rome, and he will eventually be the head of the Christian church, like it not divided up into all the different subgroups, but just it'll all be brought together. And his job apparently is to heal the church, like to heal all the divisions, all the schisms, and to make the church once more into sort of an organ or a unit that heals and uplifts people, and that take away the corruption or whatever the things are that are going on right now in different types of churches or different aspects that are not doing what the church originally was meant to do.
Yeah. We could go on and on, because I know there, I'm already thinking too, like, what you were saying about, I mean, there's always it feels like there's always like a good, there's a lot of people, I think the initiated or whatever, that know about the teachings of the Ageless Wisdom, and some use it for good, some use it for evil. I mean, I think about, like, a lot of things can't happen unless we comply or give permission, and I feel like they play, the game enough where people are actually asking for the thing they want to do to us or whatever,
Well,
so had
yeah,
me
I would
thinking
say,
about that, what
well,
you just said.
it's part of the awakening of humanity. That is, we're waking up to understanding our power and understanding we do have choice. So I think that in that process, there is, of course, there's a period in which you are vulnerable to manipulation. You can be manipulated. So I think the most important thing for each of us is self-realization at the level of the here and now, to understand we are in charge of ourselves. Maitreya has given us a prayer that is called the prayer for the new age, and it's very simple. It says, I am the creator of the universe. I am the father and the mother of the universe. Everything comes to me, like basically everything comes to me, everything goes out from me. Like, to see yourself as this fundamental sort of unit of the center, so that you understand that you are the creator, and to not allow others to convince you that they have the power over you. They don't. I mean, they do if you let them.
Yeah.
And of course, in our economic structure, very often they literally do have power over you in the sense, they're your boss, they can fire you, that type of thing. But that's where we have to come together with each other and support each other. One of the main parts of the teaching is service. We grow through service. So when we look to help each other and to work together to improve our lives, that is service, and that is what makes us grow and become stronger. And it's really important. It's fundamental. So I would say when you talk about that kind of stage at which we can be manipulated, I agree. And Benjamin Krem has said all the way up to the fifth initiation, until you reach that spot, uh, you can still be using your attainment for evil. So that's why we have to always be paying attention to our own motives and looking at ourselves and saying, well,
Mhm.
why am I doing this? What's really going on here? Like the teaching about harmlessness. It's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, like and then once again brings me back to what I'm learning on my journey in recovery as well. There's like the four absolutes that we follow, am I being honest? Am I being loving? Am I being, selfish or selfless, and it's a being of service takes us out of self, helping others. Um and
That's right.
I would kind of like with people, and that's, I'm not as involved in the church as I used to be. I still have my, some of my core beliefs, but I always would like kind of read into the Bible more, or what Christ was trying to say is like the powers within us. We are the temple, you know.
That's right.
Um
That's right.
he
Yeah.
he never was calling himself God, you know. He was saying, God's within. We're the
Yeah.
That's how we communicate with our higher power, our, uh and yeah, I don't know. There's so much more we could talk about, but I know we've already gone over our hour here. I'll have to maybe have you back for a follow-up at some point. But
Oh, I'd like that. And I just want to say before we go, I just want to say there are three teachings that Maitreya has given us that are super simple. It's honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. And so what you were just talking about just now, like, is it true? Is it kind? I mean, those are the fundamentals. So honesty of mind, like, are you being truthful with yourself, to start with, and then with others? So yeah, I mean, the basics are super simple. Absolutely.
yeah, like I was saying, I realize with that we talk about self will, or the freedom, um, of self or whatever. But I know when I try and work for selfish means, it ends up bad. You know, when I'm self-serving, it's not really a good thing. But it's a struggle, and that's part of my journey is of realization. So that's where I think, like, when I really get into my journey with the 12 steps, uh, there's definitely a lot of I think intermingling with what we're talking about on
Oh,
this journey. And
absolutely.
I think we always say, a lot of us in the rooms, hey, even if you're not like an addict or alcoholic or whatever, you can really benefit from trying to live this lifestyle,
Well, the
Um,
12-step program is amazing. I mean, it's a
mm,
spiritual path. That's what it is. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I'd like to just I kind of blanked on the next line in that prayer for the new age, but if you don't mind, I'd like to just say it. It's like seven
Yeah.
lines long. So it goes, I am the creator of the universe. I am the father and the mother of the universe. Everything comes from me. Everything shall return to me. Mind, spirit, and body are my temples, for the self to realize in them my supreme being and becoming. So I think it's
Nice.
beautiful. It's really, really, it's just like it's all there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to add that to my some of my daily readings, getting that head right uh in the morning to start my day, for sure.
And if anybody wants to try transmission meditation, it is super easy. And there are groups doing it using Zoom. So you don't have to have a group in your town, or, you can create one, just you and 2 friends, 3 people can do it. The instructions are really easy. And if you go to the website of shareinternational.org or shareinternational.us, you can find the instructions for how to do it. In fact, there's a book about transmission meditation. You can download the PDF for free. And there's also a book about the Ageless Wisdom teaching, which you can download for free on the Share International US site. They have sort of a storefront e-cart where you can do that.
Nice. Sabina, thank you so much. And then for any fans out there that might want to, kind of follow your journey and see what you're up to, where would you send them?
Well, I would send them to those 2 websites I just mentioned. And I don't have my own personal website, but there's also the New Zealand site that I really like, Share International New Zealand, because they have a lot of podcasts and radio programs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of content there that you can listen to. So I recommend that. I can post those links if there is somewhere. I think probably later on I can put them in if that works.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Or you can email them to me or whatever. I can throw it up with this.
Alrighty.
But
I'll do that.
But Sabina, once again, thank you so much for your time. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it as well. And
I did. I had a really good time. You're a great conversationalist. You really are.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And we'll be in touch, and maybe we'll follow up, because I know I could always use more friends in this world, so I don't feel crazy in my own head a lot of times,
I do. Yes.
But,
all right. I look forward to that. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. You take care.
All right. Thanks. Same to you. Bye.
Big changes are coming to the Boondoggle in 2025. New year, new logo,